do you think we've gotten correct about policing in downtown, and what do you think we've gotten wrong about policing in downtown? And Kurt, why don't we start back with you, and then we'll sneak around.
I think policing, what we've gotten correct is the increased emphasis on community-minded policing, whether it be the senior lead officers, whether it be increased quick lead officers like Al Flores. If anybody knows Al Flores, I think he's a model officer in terms of going out there, shaking hands, knowing people, building those interpersonal connections, which help identify problems and build trust, the kind of trust that we're trying to get here. What we got wrong? As far as we are community-minded, I think we have further to go to be more community-minded. And to the extent we have further to go, that's, you have to characterize it as wrong, it's wrong. I think we're trending in the direction of being more community-minded. And if every single officer at Central Division could walk the streets and know people out there, I think it would help and serve the community better, it help them understand the issues, and it help them solve the issues.
Thank you so much. Pastor?
Yeah, I resonate with community policing. I was here in LA in early 90s when the police operated through kind of power presence, building up arms and creating presence was sort of a method of policing. And since the riots, I think it has changed to more of a community policing format. And I really applaud the police department for doing that. And when I started to served in Skid Row, it was about maybe about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and the condition at that time was pretty deplorable. And there was a period in which I think it was called a Safer City Initiative, in which they poured in a tremendous amount of resources in community policing, and that helped Skid Row tremendously. And I'd seen a tremendous change in Skid Row as I ministered there for, I think maybe it was around 10 years ago to maybe about 3 years ago. There was tremendous improvement. But I do have to say, in the last 3 years, there's been a huge dip that has taken place in terms of impact of police in Skid Row. They blame the lawsuit. I'm trying to figure out whether there was a solution that could happen in which the complaints of both sides, or the issues that were brought up by one side, could have been resolved without Skid Row coming to what it is right now in the last 3 years. I think something's got to be done. And there's a huge dispute between LA Can and the police right now. And the city attorney's office is really not helping either, in my opinion. So I'm not quite sure whose fault it is. It's one of those guys, all of those guys, all put together. And we just, from my point of view, we got to start some dialogue so that reasonableness can prevail somewhere along the line.
Thank you.
In my efforts to try to be as thorough as possible in answering the question, I have to apologize to the moderator, because me personally, I don't have anything positive to say. I'm born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, as I said, so I'm from the hood. And we've been targeted by the LAPD since I was a little kid. Moving forward as a grown man now in Skid Row, I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not broke. I'm not mentally ill. I've never been in a drug rehab facility. Why am I being targeted? And so when we talk about racial profiling, bias policing, you know, we can go on and on and on, but most importantly, we're LAPD lost. And I've had meetings with LAPD. I brought it right to them, number 2 man and the number 1 man at the Central Division, number 2 man overall. And many others were in the room from LAPD. And, you know, it comes down to trying to get LAPD to own up to the trauma that they've caused this city. You know, we've got a lot of people, you know, the majority of the Skid Row population is African American. You know, well, let's look at the trauma that LAPD has caused towards that population. I've got documentation right now where it talks about LAPD supported the CIA's efforts to bring crack cocaine into the black community, and it's brutal. And so once it went to the hood, of course it was a direct pipeline out established through Skid Row. So we're talking about from the 80s, we're talking about to the 90s, to all the way up to today. You know, it starts with, you know, the Skid Row containment zone policy. What was that? You know, so the government officials are not, you know, they got a lot of fingers to blame and point at them as well. And so when we talk about the trauma, the 65 riots, you know, Pastor, I was speaking about riots. You know, 65 riots, the 92 Rodney King riots. You know, the May Day, the MacArthur plot. And we go on and on and on and on. There's a lot of trauma that LGBTQ has caused that they have not apologized to Angelenos yet. So it's kind of hard for us to feel comfortable and trust the very people that keep targeting us, that keep traumatizing us. It starts with them first.
So I would like to beg a question for you all about community policing. I think there's a whole nother section we have about community policing and the nimble nature of LAPD, and as they read the writing on the wall, they're starting to change up their game. So if anyone wants to ask about community policing, I highly encourage it. I will say that it is very hard. I really tried to, I want to be politic and say good and bad. First of all, I think it's very interesting that downtown LA is bigger than Skid Row. So I think it's a really interesting way to think about how policing has failed in this community, or how it's really messing up. But I think by saying that, you know, we're talking a lot about Skid Row, and we're just kind of like talking about policing in Skid Row. Downtown LA is a much bigger area, obviously, as you know, than Skid Row. And I think the way that we failed most as a city, and the way LAPD has been, in some ways, and this is what I would have told Captain Graham, to set up to fail, is that we throw resources to LAPD, way more resources than any other department in the city of Los Angeles, and expect them to fix every problem in downtown Los Angeles. So we're not just talking about serious crime. Clearly, I think if there's a need for police at all in our society, I think we would probably agree on the most severe stuff. Murder, rape, right? Assault. But we expect them to be social workers. We expect officers to be basically alarm clocks and walk around every morning and hit the same tent, wake up, wake up, wake up. I know dozens of officers in Skid Row who join the LAPD to stop serious crime, to stop bad guys. And I think that we failed them by putting an unreasonable expectation, right? That not only doubles down on the problems of Skid Row and broken windows policing, right? But also takes all resources away from the solutions that could end some of those situations, and also prevents them from adequately probably doing the policing of serious police work, right? I really empathize, and it's horrible to hear people getting attacked outside of Whole Foods. So don't get it twisted, do things like that's at all okay, right? That shit is not okay. No one should be, new downtowner, old downtowner, no downtowner, should feel unsafe in their community. But I think that we fail when we double down on this, LA Can't hates LAPD. That is not the problem. The problem is that there's a building back there with people who make decisions of where money goes, where resources go. And the only authority that LAPD has is because we grants, elected officials grants, the LAPD to have all this authority via resources, 10,000 officers, to do a lot more than what I think that a lot of them want to do. Stop real bad guys from hurting old downtowners, new downtowners, poor downtowners, house downtowners, new rich downtowners. And I think that that's the biggest failure, is that the bottom line is about resources. We gotta really get away from this us, them, who's who. We gotta get about it's all about who has the money, who has the resources. And I think it's a very quick pivot that if we can just move away